Hey there guys, it's Tina and I'm back and I hope you guys are all doing well and staying safe. If you're also back, welcome back to the I'm Back crew. Thank you so much for joining me again. Say hi to the family for me. But if you're new and maybe you like what you see, please consider subscribing. We have tons of fun here on this channel talking about makeup and all things beauty. And today I have a fun video in store. It's going to be jam-packed with 4 different looks from 4 different palettes because of course we're talking all about the holiday launch from Odens Eye Cosmetics. Oh my god, I am so excited for this launch. I am so excited because they are relaunching 2 of my favorite palettes from last year. Oh, these palettes were so amazing. They were available in limited quantities, so I know not everyone was able to get their hands on them last year, but they were so popular and in such high demand that they are relaunching them this holiday, along with 2 new palettes. So we're gonna talk all about this collection. I'm gonna give you all the details. I also have a discount code. It's an affiliate code. It's Fancy Face. You'll get 10% off. So if you use my code, I'll get a kickback, but you'll also get a discount. So if you wanna hear all about these palettes, see them in all their glory, and see the looks I created, then let's go ahead and dive right into it. So as I mentioned, this is the new holiday launch from Odens Eye Cosmetics. It is currently on sale on the Odens Eye website. You can use discount codes again to get a percentage off. If you wanted to get the full bundle with all 4 palettes, you can get that for $149.26. Again, you can use different affiliate codes to get 10% off. The palettes themselves will retail individually for $43.90. Again, you can use a discount for each of them. Unfortunately though, since I'm releasing this video after the official launch, the silk scarves that were launched with the palette, so this is the reindeer option, and we also have the snowman. Oh, so cute. These silk scarves are no longer available, okay? They were available in limited quantities upon launch, but I did post swatches on my Instagram. I posted a reel, I posted to my stories, and I posted on YouTube as a short. So maybe you were able to get your hands on one of the bundles or one of the palettes with the scarf. Now, as I mentioned, there are 2 new palettes. So we have the Hey Reindeer Palette and the Snow Dream Palette. These are brand new for this holiday, but we have the relaunch of the Christmas Eve palette and the Christmas palette from last year. And I want to show you these in all their glory and just talk about them, talk about the color stories. So let's start out with the Hey Reindeer Palette. It says, embark on a festive adventure with the Hey Reindeer Palette. Immerse yourself in the whimsy of the holiday season with our Hey Reindeer Palette, where festive spirit and captivating colors unite to tell a story of Christmas enchantment. Inspired by the frolicsome reindeer, a beloved emblem of winter celebration, this palette articulates the merry narratives of Christmas in every hue. Our 16 shade collection offers a symphony of 8 plush matte shades, 1 singular multi-chrome, and 7 lustrous sparkling shades. It's a respectful homage to the timeless Christmas palette, refreshed with a contemporary twist. Within the Hey Reindeer Palette, find a soft matte lavender and nuanced gray blue set against a range of vibrant, shimmering shadows. The candy cane shade stands out as a multi-chrome spectacle, marrying a gentle pink base with a shifting symphony of colors for a playful yet sophisticated look. The packaging itself is a celebration adorned with joyous seasonal motifs and starring a charming Christmas reindeer that radiates the cozy warmth of the season. And they're so right. As usual, the packaging is stunning. We have this beautiful reindeer with the Christmas motif. On the front it says Hey Reindeer. On the back we have the shade names and size and information. For reference, all these palettes are made in China and have a net weight of 22 grams or 0.77 ounces. There are 16 shades available and it has an intended usage life of 36 months. And as mentioned, this palette is kind of split equally between mattes and shimmers. So we have 8 mattes, 1 multi-chrome, and then 7 shimmers. And this color story is on the more muted side, even though it's still colorful. We have a couple of rosy matte shades, some lighter blues, a smoky blue tone gray, And of course we have that icy white, which is a shimmer shade. And that multi-chrome is really beautiful. It's pink and gold. We have a pop of bold orange, a yellow gold shimmer. There are a couple of more neutral lean-in tones. So we have a bronze, a more pewter or gunmetal shade, and a dark matte brown. And I think this is a nice, fun palette. There are quite a few color stories that I would combine here. And of course, I'll show you looks from each of these palettes. Moving on to the Snow Dream palette. And this one says, embarking on a whimsical journey with the enchanting snowman, we've woven a palette that softly whispers the serene tales of Christmas, presenting the Snow Dream palette. This festive release unfolds a story through 16 eyeshadows featuring a blend of 8 matte shades, 1 distinctive multi-chrome, and 7 dazzling shimmers. The Snow Dream palette gently cradles understated matte greens, vivid reds, and rich browns, all caressed by a spectrum of vibrant shimmer shadows. The shade Frankincenses emerges as a special spectacle, casting a holographic silver sprinkled with delicate sparkles. The packaging, a tender embrace of festive snowman, seeks to sprinkle a dash of adorable and cozy Christmas spirit into this year's limited edition. May your eyes twinkle with the gentle dreams of snowflakes and festive joy. And this palette is a beautiful one as well. You have the snowman with the Christmas accents. There's a ginger man and a Christmas wreath. It's all beautiful. Again, the artwork from Odens Eye always blows me away. The palettes are definitely beautiful. And this color story, again, we have 8 mattes. But in this one, we have a mix of greens and reds, but they're more on the muted side. The 2 new palettes are definitely more subdued, more tame color stories. The shades are definitely more muted. And this palette has some more neutrals tossed in. So we have some neutral mattes. We even have a creamy ivory. We also have this pop of red again, but this one is more of a cherry red. We have a red brown. We have a light yellow. And then mixed in, we have a couple of bronzy shades, a coppery shade, a light sage green, and even the purple. The special shade is Frankincense, and that one I feel like they should have called Tinsel because it's like a foil silver with multi-dimensional shimmer to it. Really gorgeous palette, but we'll talk more about like the performance and how these apply a little bit later on. Moving on to the relaunched palettes, which I absolutely adore. Let's start out with the Christmas Eve palette, which is still in the same packaging. They didn't redo anything here. We have some reindeer, a Christmas tree, and it's more of a blue packaging to reflect the color story within. So this one says, the Christmas Eve palette is inspired by the atmosphere of the Christmas snowy night. The outer packaging of the dark blue theme is matched with blue and purple color Christmas elements. The eyeshadows includes a special multi-chrome color Gorgeous, which is a dreamy purple background color with multi-chrome variations of pink and blue. We truly hope our Christmas Eve palette will enable your holiday makeup creations with unique makeup looks. And this color story is stunning. I fell in love with this palette last year as well as the Christmas palette, but this one, oh my god, so stunning because it has all these blues. This is an easy color story to follow because it's mostly blue tones. We also have this matte gray. Again, we have 8 mattes and 8 shimmers with a multi-chrome mixed in. The multi-chrome Gorgeous is exactly that. It is gorgeous. It's so stunning. But we have also Snowflake, which is a silver, kind of like a tinsel shade as well. But we have a couple of more purpley tones mixed in. And even, again, another gunmetal bronze, a more warm tone bronze, and some muted brown taupe shades that you can use for a more subdued look. And I love that they have these 2 dark matte shades in the palette, a dark teal and a dark blue, but we also have this lighter olive green, that light gray, and then this mustard kind of pukey brown. I love this palette so much. And then the final palette, of course, is the Merry Christmas palette from last year. Another favorite of mine. So this one says, The Merry Christmas palette is inspired by the classic Christmas color scheme. The outer packaging of the red palette is matched with red and green colors along with Christmas elements. The colors of the eyeshadows includes a special multi-chrome color Elf Wish, which has a grass green background with color shiftings of pink, green, and gold. We truly hope that our Merry Christmas palette will enable your holiday makeup creation with some unique makeup looks. I did a video on this one before, so I will link it over here. I spoke about these palettes last year because they're so stunning. So this one is a Christmas theme. So we have reds and greens and golds. And I think it is absolutely stunning. So the Elf Wish shade is the multi-chrome in the palette, like they mentioned. And this one is kind of interesting because it looks green in the palette, but once you apply it, it's like this pink gold, and it's so gorgeous. I mean, you see hints of the lime green, but it's mostly like a pinky gold. It's absolutely gorgeous. And again, we have some more muted bronzes in the palette and browns that you can use to create a more subdued look. But this one is a little bit more colorful than the Christmas Eve palette. I feel like this is definitely full-on color. Go for greens or reds, but it's so stunning. It's so gorgeous. I don't think you can go wrong with this palette either. And with that being said, you've seen all the palettes up close and personal. You've seen the swatches. Oh my goodness gracious me. Can you get over how gorgeous these look? I cannot. So let's go ahead and do some looks, right? Featuring these palettes, and I'll walk you through each look. They're gonna be short looks, hopefully, right? But I'll leave timestamps so you can jump around. But without much further ado, let's do some looks. All right, so let's go ahead and do a look with the Hey Reindeer Palette, which is really beautiful. It is definitely a holiday themed palette. This color story is more muted, but it is still colorful. We have a couple of mauvey pink tones, pop of red, a pop of orange, a couple of blues, even a gray mixed in. But some of these tones are really understated and muted, so let's see what kind of look we can come up with. And I'm trying to do a subtle look, something that's a little bit understated. I'm going to start out with the shade Reindeer, which is a muted rose pink shade. And I'll blend that lightly in the crease. This is going to act as our transition shade. Do you want to come in some more? Here you are. There's no real transition shade per se in the palette, but this pink shade, this rosy shade, can act as that because it's a little bit more on the light side. Even though it looks a little bit richer in the palette, it's going on pretty muted and light, which I actually appreciate. Now let's go in with the shade Greetings. This is a rosy brown, and I'm going in with the same brush, but concentrating this color just in the crease to create some dimension. And you can see there's somewhat of a gradient, but it's not really that richly pigmented. I'm going to pull a little bit of it also on the outer lid and outer crease. It's a very similar color to Reindeer that we used before, but it's just a little bit more brown. So not a very rich shade at all. I expected it to be a little bit richer than that, to be honest. Now let's go in with the matte deep brown, which is Snowish. This one I think should give a little bit more color and a little bit more depth, so I'm gonna add that again to the outer V and outer crease. Yeah, that definitely picks up, and it's picking up and layering and blending well with the pinks that we have down before. So even though we already have shades down, this color is still giving us decent color payoff, so it's sticking down pretty well. Now I want to try out one of the shimmers. Let's go in with Belle, which looks like a gunmetal shade. I picked that up on a shader brush just to see how it will apply, dry. And it's a very sparkly shade. It looks almost silvery instead of being that gunmetal. I'm gonna spritz my brush to see if we can get a little bit more of the base color and not so much all that silver. And it's still very silvery. Okay, that's fine. That wasn't the shade that I was expecting or wanting, if I'm honest. I wanted something a little bit more deep bronze, which we do have a bronzy shade in here. So I'm going to grab that shade as well. So let's go for it. This shade is Christmas Stocking. It's a little bit more golden bronze. Same brush. And we're gonna just pop that on the center of, ooh. Ooh. That is a pretty shade. And mixing it with the silver is giving me this beautiful mixed metal look, because it's like gold and silver. That is actually really pretty, but I feel like, well, I'm not getting too much fallout. So I'm gonna spritz my brush again just to make sure it lays down smoothly. I didn't use a glitter glue. I just applied the shades directly to the lids. But with shades like this, I get a little bit nervous about the fallout and the shimmer because there's nothing for it to really stick to, but it's sitting still pretty well. I'm glad I'm not doing my face first though, so okay. That's an interesting little shade. I feel like I need to go back in and build up now the outer V. So we have that brown to ground everything, because I mean, it's a little bit intense on the lids. Oh my god. And should I go in with something on the inner? Yeah, let's do something on the inner lid. I feel like we should go in with candy cane, so let's try that. And I'm picking that up on a bullet brush and just popping it on the inner lid. Okay, that's pretty, but it's very pink, and I mean, it's not a bad shade, it's just not necessarily what I was looking for. So you know what, let's try Christmas Ham, which is the white. Dampen my brush again because I'm scared of this shade. It's just very flaky. Like, you can see the flakes, right? All right, let's pop that on the inner. Ooh, no. Okay. This shade is definitely, oh my god. It's definitely a flaky shade. I'm gonna have to press and buff that so it kind of smooths out. Cause I mean, flaky city. Yeah. I'm gonna need to press that out, but I think that's good. Let me go ahead and finish some of this blending and apply my mascara and finish up my face, and I'll be right back. All right guys, so here you have it. Here is the final look, and with lashes and everything on, I think it is gorgeous. I was able to blend out the inner tear duct, and I think it gives a beautiful pop. You know, you have that pink that stands out against the pink in the crease. I think it looks gorgeous, and I haven't had any more fallout from the lid shades. Here you go, up close. Gorgeous, isn't it? And here is like a distant view of the look, so you can get an idea. It's a very sexy, sultry look, but it's still sparkly and beautiful. I actually really like this look. So that's the look we created with the Hey Reindeer Palette, and I think it's stunning. All right, time for the next look featuring the Snow Dream palette. Now this one, I'm not too sure where we're going with it. We have a few sage greens. There's a little beautiful light teal. We have some red tones. There's a pop of purple. There's a silvery shade, a couple of bronzes. But I feel like we shouldn't go neutral for this one. I feel like going in with the shade Garland, which is a matte mustard. And I think you should come in a little bit. This is like a light muted mustard shade. It's not truly yellow per se. Well, now that I apply it, you're like, yeah, that's actually yellow. So it's not really mustard. It's almost like a lemon shade, right? It's a lot lighter than I expected. So we're just gonna blend that in the crease. It's going to behave as kind of a transition shade, but now that I have it down, yeah, it's not really doing much because it is so light. So let's grab Snowflake, which is that light pistachio shade. I do like a pistachio color, so I'm gonna apply that to the inner tear duct. So it's like a light pastel green. Ooh, it's like a seafoam green, because it's not really green. You see it, it's very pale. It's given pistachio, and I'm just applying that with a shader brush. It's not as pigmented as I would like. It's applying a bit sheer, almost like the mustard shade we applied. So it's not as impactful as I thought, which is not a bad thing. It just means it's gonna give you a lighter color payoff. All right, with that being said, let's go in with Ornament, which is this green shade. It's like an olivey green and it's matte. And I'm going to apply that to the outer lid and see how that ties together with the pistachio shade. And then we'll use one of the shimmers that I feel like is the prettiest in the palette, but it looks like it might be the most troublesome to apply because it looks a little bit flaky. This green is also applying pretty lightly, so I am pressing the color in to see if we can get some more color payoff, but it's also a lightly pigmented shade, so don't expect too much from this color either. Now let's go in with the shimmer shade Frankincense. It looks very flaky. I'm very nervous about it. You see it's very flaky, but we're gonna be brave and apply that to the center of the lid. I mean, with the brush it's applying fine. Let me try with my finger and press it, because like I said, with these shades you kind of have to press them to smooth them out. And ooh, it's very shiny silver. It's almost like a tinsel shade. I would have called it tinsel. It has a bit of pink, blue, and silver iridescence to it. It's a really pretty shade, but you can see it's a little bit on the flaky side. I'm going to dampen my finger, just get a little bit of my setting spray on my finger. If you ever wonder what spray I use, it's the Smashbox Primer Water. This is what I recommend for any shimmer. If you don't want to use a glitter glue, this is a really good setting spray to use because it helps the eyeshadow stick down. Sometimes they can flake off, like you'll have fallout, but it won't be as much, and it helps to smooth the color on. Do you see how foiled that looks? Yeah, it's a very strong tinsel shade. That was probably not my best idea, because now how do I mix it with the other shades? All right, let me figure this out. I need to like regroup and recenter. Ciao. And there is fallout. Again, from these kinds of shades, expect some fallout. Do your eyeshadow first. Save the face makeup for later. Let's try to balance it out with the shade Magic, which is the deeper, like a deep gunmetal bronze. It's not really a gunmetal, it's not a bronze. It's like this brown shade, but it has a little bit of a neutral gray lean in cast. I don't know. It's just a little bit different. And oh my god, it has a little bit of a different texture than the Snowflake shade. And I kind of want to blend it into the crease. So that's going to give us the softer transition between tinsel and matte. Because, you know, going from, you see that harsh line? That's what we want to kind of soften. So I'm using this neutral shade that is a shimmer, but it's not as metallic, to kind of diffuse the edge. And it's a more neutral shade, so it can tame some of that silver. And don't be afraid, you have the palette, right? Don't be afraid to mix the shades to accomplish a look that you're going for. This is just a very hostile, very aggressive shade. Oh my god. Fallout Central. Once I started to try to manipulate that shade, it started to fall out. I'm gonna go in with, this is Gaju, whatever that means. It's that darker brown, but it has that reddy undertone. This color story is not giving me too many options. Ooh, I feel like, y'all, I feel ready to start over. Oh my god, because that green is not gonna go with anything right now. It is ugly, but I'm gonna try another save before I completely give up. I'm going to grab Tradition, which is more of a copper shade, and that will go more with that red brown, right? Instead of that bronze that we used. So let me use that and kind of mix it in with that red brown and just pretend that the green isn't there in the crease right now. Just pretend it isn't there. I'm trying to really distract from it with this copper shade, which is a pretty shade. This shade is pretty. It's a similar texture to the magic shade that we used before. So again, it will diffuse the colors between that tinsel shade. It's a little bit better, but it's so messy right now. Oh my god. You know what? My mama ain't raised no quitter. So what I'm doing is just removing the crease color, right? That green, I removed it. Not the lid shades. I'm gonna leave those. I'm gonna go in with my NARS concealer just to reapply in that area, and that will give our eyeshadows something to stick to, but also clean up that area a bit, blend out any of the sharp edges. And so now we're left with just the bronzy shades, and I feel like we can make it work. Let's go in with the matte red, which is Guests. Did I say that word? Guests? Ooh, Guests. And we're gonna apply that kind of where we had the green before. Ooh, it's gonna apply a little bit harshly. Let me go in with a fluffier brush like we had before. So this is gonna give us more of a red look versus whatever muddy situation we were creating before. And then we'll go back in with that red brown now on the crease with a denser crease brush. This is the Real Techniques Deluxe crease, and build that color up, because it's a little bit more red based, so it's gonna warm that look up. That may not even have been the right idea either. Listen, go with me with it. We're gonna figure this out. This silver is awful. I would completely avoid using this shade. I mean, the fallout is ridiculous. I have fallout everywhere right now. It's so bad. And blending like the mattes, the silver is getting into the matte. You see it? So it's creating like this sparkle effect. I'm not loving that at all. But like I said, mama ain't raised no quitter. So let's just blend that out and speed through that blend, because geez Louise. It's not completely awful right now. So let's go in with Boots and Goodwill, between these two, to create a brow highlight. I just mixed the two on the brush, and I'm gonna pop that on the brow bone, help to blend down some of that red on the crease line. And now I need to figure out something for the inner tear duct, because ooh child, it's not looking good. I wonder how Sweater would fare. It's that golden shade. Let me spritz my brush, because I kind of want to go over the tinsel shade, because that shade is just a complete bust. I kind of want to layer over it. See if we can mix it and get more of that yellow gold going on. So the yellow gold and then copper to finish up the look. So it mixes. Okay. It's mixing fine. We're fine here. And then that inner tear duct. should we use the lightest shade, which is Hugs? Let's try it. Hugs is another flaky shade, but it's not as sparkly as what I'm calling the tinsel shade, but it's really frankincense. Pop that. It's a pretty color for an inner tear duct. Definitely pretty. All right, I think that's as good as it is going to get. I can't do anything else. The sparkle is flying everywhere. It's in my eyebrows. It's on my face. I don't even feel like putting on face makeup at this point, but I'll persevere and show you the final look. All right, guys. What do you think? Do you think we saved it? I think we came away with an okay look considering all the struggles that we went through. I'm telling you right now, I'm not even waiting to tell you this, that silver shade frankincense, which is probably the most interesting shade in the palette. It looks really pretty. Stay the hell away from it. Oh my God, it was a task and a half. But the other shades performed pretty well. All in all, we got a decent blend out of the mattes, you know, even though we had to kind of start over. They blended fine, and the other shimmers applied decently as well. They stuck down to my eyelids without too much effort, but I would still recommend using a glitter glue or some type of primer spray or mix-in medium, because they're not the smoothest shades. But I mean, overall, let's pull out so you can see the look. It's okay. It's a cute little look. And do you love my little matching earrings? I had to, like, come on, it's like, it's so cute. So here's the look from afar. Like I said, it's cute, but there's a ton of fallout from the silver shade that I did not appreciate. So as I said, use a glitter glue or some kind of mix-in medium, because otherwise you're going to have tons of fallout. This color story is not my favorite so far. It's just a little bit disjointed. There are no real seamless looks that you can create unless you go with just the greens, right? Or again, use just the reds and bronzes. But this purple, I don't know where it would necessarily fit in. And then this shade, oh, skip it altogether. So here you have it. This is the look with the Snow Dream palette. Let's go on to the third palette, shall we? All right, now we're moving on to the re-released palettes, finally. So this is the Christmas Eve palette. It has fun pops of blue. We have some golds in here. Even a couple of like mustardy browns, you know, like these more green tone, like olivey bronzes, I would say. And then this sage green shade. There's even a matte gray and some purples. Let's start out with the shade Nightfall. Let me lower my chair a little bit, and we're going to sweep this in the crease. You know what I want to start doing? Lowering where I place my shades, so I don't want to go as high up in the crease. But let's continue anyway, the way we have been doing so far, and just blend this in the crease area and outer V. These shades, oh my God. So, spoiler alert, these older palettes are my faves. All right, now let's go in with the shade Christmas Eve and a smaller blend-in brush, and we're going to apply that to the outer V. And I'm just making sure I blend those two blues together to create a gradient. Now let's go in with this gorgeous deep shimmer. This is Blue Star. I feel like I need to be even closer so you can see this shade. It's such a stunning blue mixed with purple. It's not completely blue. It's like a navy blue with a little bit of purple to it. and I'm just applying that on the outer lid space to merge with the darker outer V. It's such a stunning shade. I don't know if it's going to pick up on camera where you can see the purple and the blue. Oh, so good. And now let's grab the shade Gorgeous, which is exactly that. It's gorgeous. I mean, look at that. It's like a purpley. Oh my God. It is one of my favorite shades from any of the palettes. It's such a stunning purple, blue, teal, pink multi-chrome. Stop, okay? You won't understand just how pretty this is until it's on the eyes. I mean, I don't even know if the camera is picking up how gorgeous it is. I mean, the name matches it. It's gorgeous. It's such a gorgeous shade. I cannot stand it. It's so good. All right, I'm gonna go back in with the dark blue one just to make sure we have the depth, because I don't want this gorgeous shade to overwhelm that blue, because it can, you know? I want that blue to still sing because that deep blue is so stunning on its own. And then for the inner lid, let's use Wonderful. And I'm just picking that up on a smaller brush and popping that right on that inner lid and tear duct area. It's such a stunning shade as well. Like, all the shimmers in this palette are stunning. The only one that's a little bit flaky is Snowflake, but it's still not like a really flaky shade. In fact, let's go in with it. So here's Snowflake. To save myself, I'm going to spritz my pencil brush. And like I said, the shade is a little bit more flaky. And we'll pop that. Oh my God. It's like a tinsel shade, but not as awful as the other palette. I mean, that sounds terrible, right? But seriously, it's not as bad as that palette. And with the primer water, you see how it just sticks down? So pretty. I am going to grab Ice Crystal, which is the light gray shade. I'm going to see if it would work as like a little bit of a highlight. I mean, it's a little bit weird as a highlight because it's a gray, right? But because it's a blue tone gray, I feel like it can still kind of work. I'm blending it out like crazy, but it kind of works, right? It's not too bad. And since I haven't done like a lower lash line color, let's go for it. I'm grabbing Night Sky. This is like a matte dark teal, and it's such a beautiful smoky color, and I'll just use that on the lower lash line. Stunning, right? All right, I think that's gonna do it for this look. This was so much easier than the last palette, so let me finish up the face and show you the final look. All right, so here is the completed look. I popped on some lashes for this look just to pull it all together because, you guys, it's so stunning. It is so good. Of course, you already saw a preview of this look because I was wearing it in the intro, but oh my God, I need you to see it up close. This shade Gorgeous from the palette, it's so stunning. I would recommend this palette just for that shade. It's so good, but the other shades are also very gorgeous. So here's the look from a distance so you can get like the full view. Isn't it pretty? I'm just so in love with how this turned out, and I hope you also enjoyed it. So let's go ahead now and wrap up with the final palette and the final look. time for the final palette, which is the Merry Christmas palette. And we're going to dive right into this. I already did a look with this palette last year using mainly the red shades, so I will link it, but I'm going to do a second look because this palette is really fun to play with. So let's go ahead and start out with the shade New Leaf. This is kind of a Kelly green shade, a matte Kelly green, I would say. It's a bit of a deep pistachio compared to the lighter green we had in the Snow Dream palette. And I'm just buffing that in the crease area to create a bit of a transition. And these mattes apply really well and blend out really effortlessly, which is why I love this palette. I'll pull a little bit of that shade onto the outer crease and outer lid as well, just to make sure we have a seamless blend when we go in with the deeper shade. So let's grab Christmas Tree, which is the deep green in the palette, and we'll use a smaller blending brush to create some depth in that outer V area. And again, these shades apply really well and blend together effortlessly. So we're just creating a little bit of depth and dimension on the outer V. Then let's go in with the beautiful shimmery green New Year. And we're just going to apply that with a shader brush. I didn't dampen this brush or anything. I'm just tapping that directly onto the lid. And these shades, they apply so well. I prefer the shimmers in the New Year's Eve palette and this Christmas palette for sure. And then of course, I want to use the special shade Elf Wish, which is the multi-chrome. Same brush, but this shade is a little bit flakier, so I'm gonna make sure I press it onto the lid and swipe and tap, press, swipe, just to make sure it applies smoothly. This is such a pretty shade. And it has a little bit of a golden pink hue to it with that underlying light green. It's so pretty. I feel like adding a little bit more depth, so I'm going to go in with the matte black, which is Happy Ending. And I'm just going to tap that lightly on the outer V, again, just to deepen and darken that up just a little bit. Make it a little bit smokier compared to this eye. And that black is really rich, so it's gonna add a lot of depth for sure. And then for the inner tear duct, I want to do something fun, so I'm gonna use All Right, which is the shimmery orange, and I'll grab that on a pencil brush and just pop it on that inner tear duct. That is fun, yes. And I'll just make sure I go around all the edges so there are no harsh lines. And now I'm going to apply my mascara, finish up my face, and show you the final look. All right, so here is the final eyeshadow look. I just applied mascara, no lashes, and I think it looks great. Hold on, I need to blend. All right, there we have it. So here is the final look. Oh, I love it so much. Can you see the multi-chrome like doing its thing? Gorgeous, but all the shades, even the dark shimmery green, stunning. And I love the mattes in this palette. So here is the from a distance view, right? Do you love my earrings too? Look how I got all Christmassy for you guys. I know, I never do this, but I saw these earrings at, where was I? Kohl's, yes, and they were 40% off. I was like, I'm gonna get them. Super cute, right? Oh my god. And I feel like I can wear these all season for the holidays, so I'm gonna get use out of them. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the look. I really love this Merry Christmas palette. I think the color story in here is phenomenal. Again, it's a more colorful palette, so you're going to lean more into reds and bronzes, even though you can get some neutral tones mixed in here. I mean, we have this bronze, but you can use these greens together, use the reds together, use the brownie shades. I guess there are some brownie shades, but it's a bolder color story. And I absolutely love it, and I think it's such a perfect Christmas theme. it matches Christmas, right? All around. So here you have it. Here's the final look from the palettes. I am going to go ahead now and wrap up with my final thoughts. Alright, now that you've seen all the palettes in action, you've seen them up close and personal, you've gotten swatches, and you've even seen a look created from each of the palettes individually. Of course, that doesn't mean you can't mix and match the color stories, because I feel like they can merge together, especially if you pick up more than one palette. But I wanted to show you how each of the color stories would stand alone in a look. Now that you've seen all that, let's go ahead and get into my final thoughts. And I do have thoughts. And people have asked me, which one's your favorite palette? What do you think about the new color stories? They've heard some chattering about the newer palettes, that they're not as great as the older palettes. And I'm going to give you my feedback. All right, are you ready? Hands down, I think this is one of the best collections you're going to see for the holiday season, because Odens Eye always blows us out the water with their color stories, their palette designs. It's always so stunning to look at. And I'm so happy that they relaunched the palettes from last year, because if I could tell you anything, I'll tell you right now, grab the two older palettes. Like, if you didn't get them last year, now is your chance. Don't miss out this year, okay? I think they have more stock. They're still available, so grab them while you can. Get a discount, because they're a little bit pricey at $43.90, but there's 16 eyeshadows, and the quality is definitely there for these two color stories. Now, they're more colorful palettes, right? So if color is not your thing, maybe you want to stay away. But to be fair, the Christmas Eve palette, even though it's like, oh my god, blues and stuff, ooh, oh, ooh, you know, this is my favorite palette. This is the one that I would recommend. People ask me what was my favorite. Here it is. And what did you expect? It's the one with the blues. Of course I'm gonna choose it. My favorite eyeshadow color is blue after all, right? And I think blue eyeshadow gets a very bad rep. You guys, listen, blue is where it's at. You guys need to incorporate more blues in your looks. I'm telling you, it's a fun color. It pulls everything together. It just makes everything more fun, punchy, and beautiful. That's just me though. You might not like blue. I know, a lot of people don't like blue. But beyond all that, beyond the blues, okay? Beyond the blues in this palette, we have some gorgeous bronzy shades and more toned down colors. Like this color here, what's it called? Feelin' time? What does that mean? Either way, this beautiful warm bronze is so stunning all over the lids, and then you have softly in the crease. That would create a stunning look. We also have Snow Light, which is a stunning light champagne, like a little golden champagne. Stunning. And then Silvery Dream is a beautiful, almost like a taupey gunmetal shade. Stunning. So you can still create toned down looks from this palette. It's not just blue, okay? But these two deep mattes, I feel like, are essential for creating depth in a look. And I think this palette just brings it home, okay? And the winner in the palette is the multi-chrome. Gorgeous. It is so gorgeous. It's what I'm wearing right now, and I am so in love with it. It's such a good color. But the other shimmers are equally beautiful, like Blue Star, such a stunning deep blue, and it's also like a dual chrome. It's not like a one-dimensional shimmer. This palette brings it home for me. Gorgeous. My second runner-up, okay, which is a close second because it's also gorgeous, is the actual Christmas palette. This one is stunning, but the difference with this one is it's green and red, okay? Christmas. If you're not into that, sorry about it, but it's Christmas themed. And with this one, it's not as easy to create a really subdued look because it's all color, okay? There are no real browns in here. I mean, we have one more warm tone tan shade here, but that's not really going to do much. And we have a black. But honestly, you're just gonna have to deal with color here, which is not a bad thing because all these shades are gorgeous. And you can get a stunning green look using the New Year green, the shimmer, with the Christmas tree green. stunning. And the multi-chrome Elf Wish, it is such a gorgeous multi-chrome. I think the multi-chromes in these two palettes are like blowing the entire collection out the water. Gorgeous from the Christmas Eve palette and this Elf Wish. Stunning, stunning, stunning. I love these palettes so much. The reds, they're intense, okay? But you can create a cranberry look from them because we have this bolder blood red, but then we have this deeper cranberry and the black. You can kind of create a smoky red look as well. And I think this palette is gorgeous. All the shimmers, again, apply really well. They apply and smooth out well on the lids. You should probably use a glitter glue or use a mix-in medium with these, but you don't have to. Apply them with your finger, apply them with a brush. All of these shades in these two palettes apply wonderfully. All right, let's move on to the new palettes because that's really where my critique comes in. Let's start with the Hey Reindeer palette. Hey Reindeer. This one I feel like is the baby sister to the Christmas Eve palette because they both have blues in them. Now the Hey Reindeer palette is a more muted color stories. The shades are more on the pastel side. They're definitely lighter, but you can pair these two palettes together again because they have a similar color story. This palette actually surprised me because I created this beautiful neutral look, and even the trickiest shade, Christmas Ham, which is the sparkly white, wasn't too flaky. And I think it's because it's a white, right? So it's an iridescent shade that I used on the inner tear duct. It was flaky. It's a flaky shade, but it wasn't sparkly. It's just flaky. So you have to press to smooth it out, but it doesn't spill glitter all over your face, which is a plus because I don't like a glitter-packed face at all. And the remaining shimmers in the palette lay down pretty well on the lids. The multi-chrome shade Candy Cane is probably the most subdued of all the palettes. It's a multi-chrome, yes, it's like a pinky gold, but it's not as impressive as the other multi-chromes. Overall, I don't mind this palette. It's more subdued than I would like though. The shades are pretty light, but again, you would be able to create a pretty nice look, but it's not gonna be an impactful look. And maybe that's better for you. You're not into bold and intense, but I feel like this color story is so-so. It's not that impressive to me, but if I had to recommend any of the two new palettes, it would be the Hey Reindeer palette because I feel like these eyeshadows just perform a little bit better. The matte shades do apply well, but they're not heavily pigmented, so they're gonna give you more of a wash of color. They're not as intense, but the dark brown shade, the matte, actually has some punch, so you can get some depth from this palette. And again, we have a gunmetal shade and then a more toned down bronzy brown shade that can work for a more neutral look. And overall, I think this is a cute color story. Is it my favorite? No. Am I in love with it? No. But overall, I feel like the mattes performed well, even though they're a little bit lighter and a little less pigmented. And the shimmers are decent. Not too bad, except for that flaky shade that you do have to be a little bit careful with. Now, the final palette, Snow Dream, which goes with the Merry Christmas palette with the greens and the reds. Let's put them up next to each other. You'll see them there. Again, a more subdued, toned down version of the Christmas palette. This one has a couple of reds, a couple of greens, all the above, and this random pop of purple, which doesn't really go with the palette, honestly. I don't know how I would incorporate that with the rest of the shades. Anyway, this palette, you saw the struggle that occurred with this palette because of one particular shade, Frankincense. That shade, which is the special shade, the multi-chrome shade, is the most disappointing shade of all the palettes. That shade, I would almost want to pop out the palette and discard. It's so useless. It's so sparkly. There's fallout everywhere, glitter particles all over your face. It's just a hot mess. It was so difficult to work with and it threw the entire look off, but I was able to save it with some of the other shimmers mixed in. The other shimmers aren't too bad, like the Magic shade, which is the gunmetal shade, more subdued, not too bad. Tradition, which is the coppery shade, again, not too bad. But what I found is that the mattes in this palette don't really work with the color story. The red, what am I doing with that? The red doesn't really, like, you know what I mean? Like, where's that red fit in here? You know, yeah, I can mix it with this copper, but it doesn't really give that pretty of a look. This brown is okay, but the mattes don't really coordinate, you know what I mean? The neutral looks that I can create using these neutral shades, yeah, they'll work out fine. But I feel like I'm not really inspired by this color story. There's not a lot that jumps out to me as a pretty look. Yeah, you can put the greens together, some of the neutral shades together. Again, you put the warmer red tones together. But then you have this random purple. What are you gonna mix that with? I don't know. You can put that on the lower lash line, I guess, in any look. And then the silver shade is just like, get rid of that altogether. Overall, this palette, I would say skip. It's a skip, unless you like the rest of the shades except that one. The shades are okay. The mattes are fine, right? They're okay. And if you're gonna use it as a companion palette, sure, go for it. But if I had to say skip any, it would be this one. Skip this one. But if you got it in the bundle, you know, for the discounted price, you're gonna need to mix it with the other palettes, which again is not a bad thing, because if you bought multiples, use them together. That's all you have to do. You can mix and match. So you don't have to just use this palette on its own. Use some of the greens in here with the greens from the Christmas Eve palette, right? Mix them together, figure it out. But this is the least inspiring color story. It's the one that I like the least. And it's the one that I had the most trouble with. Other than that, as I said, the original two palettes, I recommended these last year. If you didn't get your hands on them, get them now. But they're colorful, I get it. If you wanted a more subdued one, Hey Reindeer. So these three, I would say, are a go. These two, definitely. This one, if you wanted something a little bit more muted, a little bit more subdued, but you're still gonna run into blues, so mix this with the Christmas Eve palette and it's a go. Those are my thoughts, all right? I don't think it's a complete bust. I've heard people say that the newer palettes aren't the best. I think the Hey Reindeer palette performed pretty nicely, and I like the color story, and I will get use out of it. The only one that I know for sure I probably won't reach into is that Snow Dream palette. It just, there's nothing about that color story that really pulls me in. And then that bothersome frankincense shade, it's just a bust all around. But what do you think? What did you pick up if you picked anything up? Did you grab any of these palettes? Are you excited? Did you get them yet? Did you get the scarves? I'm sorry I'm late with this video, but I gave you swatches. I gave you a heads up. You knew it was coming. You should have gotten it anyway. If you already purchased the palettes, did this video reinforce and kind of justify your purchase? Or did I incite a little bit of regret in your purchase choices? Let me know. Or maybe you have a little bit of FOMO because you missed out on one of the palettes. They're still available, so you can pick them up now. And I think Odens Eye as a brand, I've just always enjoyed them. I did my first collaboration with them, and that palette, oh my god, I've seen so many people still using that palette to this day, and I'm so excited that you guys enjoy that color story. And Odens Eye has also improved their matte formulas, so those eyeshadows apply and blend effortlessly. I mean, look at this blue. Come on, stunning. So hopefully this video was helpful with your purchasing decisions if you haven't purchased as yet, or it reinforced and made you feel better about picking some of these palettes up, or maybe a tinge of regret. I'm sorry if there's a tinge of regret, but it's not like a complete wash. It's just be careful with some of these shades. And my one recommendation, if I could say anything, is to use a glitter glue with these palettes. The shimmer shades, use a glitter glue. If you're like me and you don't necessarily like a glitter glue, use a mix-in medium or like a primer spray. My recommendation is the Smashbox Primer Water. This works really well. Apply the shades with a finger or with a damp brush. That's just going to work better for you and kind of minimize the fallout. And with that being said, do your eyeshadow first. do your face makeup after, because more than likely you will have fallout from the shimmer shades. Most of the shades aren't glitter bombs, but you do have some of those flakier shades that can create fallout all over your face. So just be mindful of that. Other than that, go ahead, have fun with these palettes. I think they're another hit again from Odens Eye, except for the Snow Dream palette. This is another hit, and I'm so happy they relaunched my favorite palettes from last year. So again, leave your comments down below. I will leave links down below, as well as my affiliate code, which is Fancy Face, to get you 10% off, and it gives me a kickback. So I really appreciate you using my affiliate codes, my affiliate links, my YouTube shopping links. All of those help me to put right back into the content. So I really appreciate your support. I will also leave links to my Instagram and Twitter, where you should be following me along. And until my next video, which will be very soon, I'll talk to you. Bye, guys.